Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, powers taken, not given, joined as always by John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. We have ourselves returning guest, Superman Todd, and brand new guest, Keegan Tatum. Todd, we'll start with you. How are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Just living life in a new country now.
Well, yeah, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? We knew this was a possibility, and now here we are. Keegan, how about yourself?
I'm doing moderately decent.
Yeah,
No superlatives.
Yeah, we're all a good 50-degree day. I think we can all kind of see ourselves going here. You know, not terrible, but not amazing here. So, all right, we got quite a few topics to go over today. But the first, we're gonna tackle what the hell happened during the election back on November 5th. So, we'll go ahead and start with you, Keegan. I think you requested this topic here. What were your thoughts going into the election? Like, what was your prediction, and were you surprised or were you vindicated in what you believed would happen?
I was surprised. This breaks my streak of every election being correct in a row. So I resent this election on a personal level. I think the lessons to learn are, first off, that moderates are not more electable. Joe Biden, corporate-friendly centrist, massively underperformed during a pandemic with a historically unpopular incumbent. Hillary Clinton, corporate-friendly centrist, lost. Barack Obama ran. Campaign rhetoric was as a progressive populist. He won overwhelmingly by turning out the base instead of alienating the base. And you can even go back to John Kerry and Al Gore, who were corporate-friendly centrists. And what did they do? Lose. Democrats need to learn the lesson, and the media needs to learn the lesson that centrists, that moderates are not more electable. The strategy of spending millions of dollars trying to court moderate Republicans is ridiculous, outdated. Get back to the 70s. The same 5% of Republicans that voted for Kamala Harris voted for Joe Biden in 2020. So I'd say that's the first thing that needs to be learned. And then the second one, John, I've seen you harp on this, which is right-wing media is so much more funded online than we are on the left. Like, we get no backing. Like, I can tell you from my level of following, and you can find me at Keegan Tatum on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Love it.
And I can tell you with my political psychology videos that I would be getting funding if I was a right-wing commentator. I would be getting that sweet, sweet corporate sugar daddy money. We get no help. No Democrats even come on our shows. They don't bring the connections with them like the Republican politicians when they go on right-wing online media. So I would say those are the two big ones. Run a populist campaign, people. Like, this is not that complicated. It keeps winning.
I love it. We'll go to you next, Todd. Well, what were your thoughts going into the election and your thoughts afterward?
I was shocked too. I don't know if my takeaways would be the same. I think it's very possible those are the takeaways. It's also very possible that they're not. I think one of the takeaways for me is if you have tons of people in your country who think that the economy is bad when it's actually good, there's no messaging that can really overcome that. I think I do agree there's major problems with the left and right-wing media. You know, right-wing media is all hail Trump. He can do no wrong. And even middle of the road, independent supposed media they always vote Republican anyway when it comes down to it. And then on the left side of media, we still beat the shit out of Democrats all the time too. So Democrats are getting hit from both sides of the media all the time. I'm not optimistic. I'm really not optimistic. I don't feel like there's a real easy way to go from here. Mm-hmm. I respect people who have opinions on it. I think it's very possible that any of them are right, but at the same time, we ran a dude who tried to overthrow the government. We ran a dude who actually was a traitor.
Yeah.
And we found out there's no real line in the sand. If you got people who think that the price of gas during a global pandemic when the global economy was crashing was good, there's no way to convince those people that those prices aren't coming back. It's been a rough couple of weeks, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think I saw one the other day that the whole left wing, right wing media thing. I think it was Como was talking. He was on some podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he wrote his brother in the election. Like he didn't even vote for Harris. He voted in his brother. You got Bill Maher, who shits on Trump every night and then turns around and shits on Democrats too. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm just a normal guy, and I think our country might be screwed regardless from this point forward.
I'm not quite as pessimistic. Honestly, I'm not. It is bad because I will admit I was shocked too. I think all four of us were at this point. It's not so much that I believe that Harris was running this gangbusters, murderers row campaign that, she was spot on. I thought she did a decent enough job given the time she was given, like 3 months to run a campaign. John and I had plenty of critiques on this. Keegan, you mentioned a major one. The obsession with trying to win over Republicans we thought was a mistake from the get-go. Like, why would you expect Republicans to ever vote for you? And campaigning with them was awful. But I think, I can't speak for everybody here, but what Todd said is what I thought, no matter how, not necessarily galvanizing Harris's campaign would have been, Donald Trump was the other end of the ticket, was on the other end of the line there. And I thought for sure the American people, after January 6th, after 91 criminal indictments, after 34 convictions, after being found criminally liable for rape, like you name it. It's like anything that after the eating the dogs, eating the cats, they say, okay, this is it. There's no way your average American is going to go out and vote for this guy. Wrong. I was dead wrong. Pretty much the same number as last time. Said, yeah, actually, we're fine with them. And a lot of it comes down to that. I hate saying the living in a bubble thing, but I was aware that I'm in a left-wing ecosphere. I know that. That wasn't a surprise to me. But I was honestly trying to think of from someone's point of view who didn't pay a whole lot of attention to politics, but was, I don't know, casually aware of what was going on in the world and that they would reject Trump. No, turns out I was dead wrong on that. John, well, I know where your thoughts are going, and you were a little surprised too. But what are your conclusions afterward?
Yeah, so I think that all three of you have brought up great points, and I think I was also in your boat, TJ, where I just thought people would see the truth of Trump because it's so clear. But the problem is, it's not that we're living in a left-wing bubble; it's that we're living in a bubble of people who pay attention. Yeah. And that is not the people who decided this race. The people who decided this race were people who mostly do not. Everyone who, not everyone, but it was something like 70% of people who followed political news closely voted for Harris. The vast majority of Trump supporters didn't even know what they were voting for. Yeah. And that is damning. And it is in my opinion, kind of what Keegan said, a failure of Democrats to get in front of the kinds of people who don't listen to traditional media outlets about political news. And on top of that, I think that the way they've gone about their messaging is the exact kind of thing that Donald Trump wins against. And they've done it for the past 3 elections now. And it really is very frustrating that they haven't figured it out, that all Donald Trump has is this anti-establishment mindset. And he attracts people that way because, like him or not, when you listen to Donald Trump talk, you don't have to know anything about the news, anything about what he's talking about. You listen to him talk and you're like, I believe that dude means what he's saying. You don't have to know that it's true. You don't have to know if he's telling the truth or lying, but he's George Costanza. It's not a lie if you believe it. And Donald Trump seemed to believe what he was saying. On the other side, Democrats have continued to just not feel that way. You listen, you don't have to know anything. You listen to Kamala Harris talk, you listen to Joe Biden talk, and you hear establishment, politician. They don't really believe what they're talking about. That's just politician talk. And it's so clear. You don't have to know anything about anything. You hear 3 words and you immediately recognize it. And Democrats haven't learned that lesson. And I think that is a really important lesson to learn that I don't know if they're going to.
I have a few things that I would like to add to that. So first off, what you're getting on is it's so much about not what you say or what you're running on, but how you say it.
Exactly.
And people are sick of scripted politicians. because when you sound scripted, you sound inauthentic. And if you're just kind of lazy and you just have like the TV on in the background, you're just like, oh, well, Trump at least sounds genuine. I mean, he's rambling like a crazy grandpa, but at least he sounds genuine. And I just want someone sincere. And, so many of our criticisms are, what could the Democrats do better? What could the media do better? Right? Because, why is it that every American doesn't know that immigrants commit crime at a lower rate than native-born Americans? They aren't a threat. They just aren't a threat. And they're positive for our economy, even growing wages for most Americans. Why is it that everyone doesn't know that? And that's on the media. But when you get right down to it, like, all of our criticisms are about, why did the Democrats not mobilize the same number of people they got out to vote in 2020? Because that's really the deciding factor. Trump got most of his people. Democrats lost, is it 13, 14 million voters?
It's like 9. Like, the votes are being still counted, but Harris got around, about 9 million fewer, I think.
9 million people did not come out for Democrats. And again, our criticism is about, what can Democrats do to win over the people that are win-overable? But when you get right down to it, most people that vote for Trump, it's a flaw with human psychology and the human species, right? The number one predictor of Donald Trump is a debate between racial resentment, which is a nice PC academic way of saying racist, or authoritarianism. These two are very, very well linked. Racism is fueled by about 50% by authoritarian tendencies, and we just haven't outgrown these tendencies. And unfortunately, Donald Trump is able to tap into them. It's unfortunate when we see, like, oh, the price of gas, like, Todd, what you were saying. It's like, God, doesn't it remind you of 1930s Germany? The economy, let's blame the immigrants and this minority of people. If you know anything about the fall of the Roman Republic, it's very similar to Caesar's appeal as well.
Yeah. So what you mentioned there about the media and Democrats and Trump getting his message out, and how, listen, I did an entire video on that very same thing, Keegan, talking about how Trump is genuine. I say this all the time, and liberals get mad when I say it. I said, listen, genuine doesn't mean honest. Donald Trump doesn't have an honest bone in his body. But what I say is that Trump sounds like someone you could actually meet in real life, the way he talks. Like, sure, you wouldn't meet most people who sound like Donald Trump, but he does sound like a person, like a weird one, but a person nonetheless. And you hear him talking, and it's like, okay, well, this guy, he doesn't sound like a machine. He doesn't sound like the,
scripted politician. He's not a scripted politician.
Yeah, the political bot 2000 they have up there, just, stiff and pointing their thumb like that and everything. And one thing that Trump does take good use of is the media. That Trump is a born marketer. He is like, his skill is getting his message out there by any means necessary. And the question that Keegan asked there was, why don't people know that immigrants commit crime at a far lower rate than native-born American citizens? Or the fact that, what do you say right here? I can't have it right there, but unemployment. Unemployment is one I always talk about. Donald Trump, every week for the better part of his first term, he went out there and what did he say? Every time unemployment dropped 0.5 point, every time the stock market went to a new all-time high, he'd be out there every week saying, look, black unemployment is the lowest it's ever been. He was right. It was true. Now, of course, if you looked at the stats, you saw that have been dropping every year since 2009. He just happened to be there when it bottomed out. But that's good politics. Black unemployment was lower under Biden. He didn't do that. He wasn't out there every week bragging about this. He wasn't talking about how the stock market was also. I've been saying this for years now. And of course, liberals, they want to play by the rules and stuff. Well, not play, but it's like submit to norms. And they're like, well, Biden doesn't do this because he knows that these metrics are flawed and that they don't actually. Okay, yes, I know it too, but you're a politician. Your job is to sell your message to the people and to win. So this whole, honestly, he didn't go out there and do it because he didn't want in front of the camera. That's why he didn't do it. But, watching that happen and everything, it's political malpractice and there's no one's fault but themselves.
So I think that's.
Go ahead, Todd.
I think that's one of the things that Democrats have to learn is to put aside this traditional way of running for office of, a year before the election, we've tried to figure out who the candidate is going to be. Donald Trump's been running for president for the last 9 years.
Every day for 9 years. Every fucking day.
You know what? Whoever the next person is going to be, the Democrats need to get together and figure out who that person is, like quick, fast, and in a hurry. And for the next 4 years, that person needs to be a thorn in the side of Donald Trump every single day. whether that's Gavin Newsom or somebody else, but they need to be on the news every day. They need to be pushing these political talking points, talking about, hey, look at this mass immigration and how horrible it is and how terrible it's failing, because it's going to fail. It's going to be awful. There are going to be people get killed during it. There's going to be economic fallout from these terrorists from if the immigration thing they actually do that.
Yeah.
There's going to be tons of this stuff that's going to be awful, and they need to spin it in a way every day on the news. This is Donald Trump's policy's fault, because if they don't, Donald Trump's going to go, look what Joe Biden left me.
Yep.
Look at what we're dealing with. These Democrats screwed up the economy, and his people, his base, and the undecideds who don't pay attention to politics till 3 weeks before an election, they will buy it again.
The only thing you took two of my points, Todd. How dare you?
My bad.
We have the best guest here, folks. The best guest.
Tremendous. The biggest, most wonderful. Okay. The thing that we also got to teach, like, listen, if you voted for Biden over Bernie, I hope you learned your lesson. Like, this guy was incapable of speaking, and as a result, we lost. This was a big reason. And of course, you have to add on how right-wing he was about Israel. That turned people away from the polls. But his inability to communicate was a primary reason why Democrats lost, for all of the reasons that Todd just said.
I go a step.
I was going to say that is so accurate that this election was lost in 2020 when Joe Biden was nominated. Or at the very least, it was lost whenever the hell Joe Biden decided that he could run again. Because if you look at the economic metrics over the past 4 years, and I've said this multiple times, I'm surprised by how well Joe Biden did. He did some things which I disagreed with, and I was wrong. He did a good job of curbing unemployment, of keeping inflation relatively of keeping inflation relatively low, especially compared to the rest of the world. But he was completely incapable of communicating this to the American people. And by the time that anyone was trying, it was too late. They had this mindset that, oh, Joe Biden won because he was Joe Biden, when really it was a Mickey Mouse ring. He won because of COVID. He won kind of by default because people didn't like the establishment. Trump had become the establishment. They voted against that. They didn't vote for Joe Biden. And what you mentioned earlier, Keegan, about what, you didn't call it this, but median voter theorem. Median voter theorem is like the default position of electoral politics for the past century, where everyone assumes that people are on a bell curve, and the closer you get to the center, the more people you're going to be attracting. But we all know that that's not the case. If you talk to human beings in this country in 2024, no one's just in the middle.
Nobody.
We are now in a bimodal spectrum. You have people who are on the left, you have people who are on the right. And if you are going towards the middle, you are actually at the lowest part of the curve, because that's not where people are anymore. Because people are upset.
I have so much.
But before you jump in, let me see, because I know you're good. So we'll get to that, because I want to talk about that too. It's just that the idea that there's people in the middle, it's always annoyed me, because people love to say this. People don't like to identify as even Democrat and Republican when you talk to folks, let alone left or right of the spectrum. And I get why your average person doesn't want to do that, because chances are they don't know what that right and left even mean. They don't. So they say that I'm on the left and you can pin them on some question, they're going to feel, called out. I got that. But if you talk to the median voter, their views are scattered and incoherent and don't line up logically at all. And it certainly doesn't correlate to any party. So if you're going to say, like, what does the median voter even look like? Someone who has moderate positions on everything, someone who has half left position, half right positions. You're talking about a person that doesn't exist in reality. And Keegan, what I was going to add to what you said is that how you blame this all on Joe Biden. I actually go a step further and blame it all on Obama, because when his term was over in 2016, I say Biden would have beaten Trump in 2016. I'm positive he would have. But no, he went with Clinton. And then in 2020, we could have had Bernie, but he said, no, we're going to go with Biden. And so everything down the line can be blamed a little bit on Obama. And I can't remember who said this, but the fact one of the other reasons the Democrats lost was that two things I thought of. was the voting on the emotion and voting on following someone who inspires you, which is another, I think, the primary reason that Obama won. Obama was a fucking rock star. Now, once again, you can't count on every politician to be Barack Obama. That's unreasonable, but he had a personality. He seemed like someone you wanted to listen to. And it got a whole lot of people, like they said it all the time back then, that Obama was a blank slate. You could project on him what you wanted in a lot of ways, even if because these folks aren't listening to what they're saying. Policy is important to us. And it's a really bitter pill for us to swallow that policy is not the number one issue for a lot of people. But for most people, they vote on vibes. And the thing with Trump is that the Democrats kept trying to separate Donald Trump from the Republican Party, something that infuriated me. How many times did you see Joe Biden up there saying, we have what is we call them, the extreme MAGA Republicans. These are the folks. No, it's just fucking Republicans. Republicans are the problem, not the extreme MAGA Republicans, not Donald Trump. It's 95% of Republicans voted for Donald Trump in 2024. 95% of them voted for Donald Trump in 2020. That's just how it is. And this is something that it's gonna be hard for if they go low, we go high, folks. One thing Trump also did that Democrats need to buck up and do, and leftists do a pretty good job of this. The people are angry. Direct their anger towards someone or something. That's what Trump does. Trump says your life sucks. It's terrible. You're paying too much for bacon. It's just funny after we whined about the bacon costs. It was just funny thinking of Trump shopping at a grocery store every time we talk about that kind of stuff. But he blamed. That's what Reagan did. Reagan's like, hey, your problem is black people. That's the problem. George W. Bush, your problem, it's Muslims. Donald Trump, your problem, it's Mexican immigrants. Now, that's a nefarious and evil and caustic and misanthropic way to do it. But there is a way to do it. Blame the billionaires. I mean, just easy. Just like no one likes them anyway. And so the people are upset. And you get up on stage and say, actually, everything's all right. The problem's you, actually. You're the problem with the country. It's like, no, I'm sorry. That's not going to really galvanize a lot of people voting. And the Democrats have a big problem with this because I can't remember the Democrat that came out and said it, that the message that like Bernie put forward is something that's kind of toxic to our wealthy voting base. Oh, yeah, that's right. And that's going to lose the elections. Yeah, right. Yeah. We're going to say, Keegan.
That's how you end a video right there, TJ.
All right. Thank you guys so much. You made it to the end of the video. You are once again our favorite viewer. I know I said that to someone else last time, but this time, no, it is you. If you enjoyed our show today and want to know where you can find our wonderful guests, I'll throw it to them. Superman Todd, how about you tell people where they can find you?
Hey, I'm Superman Todd. I'm just on TikTok as Superman Todd 2. So go give me a follow to listen to a normal guy who's progressive in Kentucky to give my thoughts on how crazy the world is.
And Keegan, where can our guests find you if they don't want to look for a normal guy?
They want to look for an autistic weirdo. Yeah. You can find me at Keegan Tatum, KeeganTatum. TikTok is the best place. It's the most up-to-date place for all of my short content. Instagram, I also post everything from TikTok onto Instagram and onto YouTube as well. YouTube might be a little bit behind on the short videos, but they are also long-form videos such as why are older people more conservative and what is the psychology of transphobia. Almost all of my videos are based in the psychology of politics. It's the thing I'm an expert in, and it's a really interesting topic. So hope you join me.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, fellas. If you're looking to find my content, some good stuff on TikTok and YouTube and on Left Wing, just give me a visit. I'm your man or woman. I guess you don't know. You haven't seen my chromosomes or anything like that, but we'll find out. I'll catch you guys later.